What did you want to happen? What did you expect to happen? I get it. I get it. It was all good just a week ago with the blue wave, and you're upset. But think about it. What could happen? You know what? Let's get into it. Did the Democrats cave in? I don't see it that way. But I got some creators. We're going to react to it to understand the full context. Let's talk about it.
Voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote.
Why?
What it does, first of all, is it raises health care premiums for over 20 million Americans by doubling, and in some cases tripling or quadrupling. People can't afford.
The vote was going to happen anyway. It was going to happen. My thing is, at the end of the day, this was going to be done because of the Republicans and their big tax cut to the rich, the bill. I don't want to call it the big ugly bill, they call it, right? It was going to happen anyway because they would not come to the negotiating table. This was warned for a long time. Kamala warned about this for a long time. We saw this coming. Everybody did. We knew this before. This is why we're framing it as if it's the Dems thing. At the end of the day, this was going to happen. This was coming.
When we are already paying the highest prices in the world for health care. Number two, it paves the way for 15 million people to be thrown off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. Studies show
when the Republicans said they were never going to touch the Medicaid and Medicare, they were lying. We talked about this months ago, election time, a year ago. People didn't believe us. Didn't believe thought it was rhetoric.
It will mean that some 50,000 Americans will die every year unnecessarily. And all of that was done to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%.
That was not the Democrats' fault. That's just the Republicans.
Everybody knows, just on Tuesday, we had an election all over this country. And what the election showed is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism, to his war against working class people.
That's a fact. The blue wave, yes, we reject it. We want to fight. But again, the Dems don't have the power.
To his authoritarianism. That is what the American people wanted. But tonight, that is not.
Or the vote was literally it was a stalemate. As they kept standing still, trying to get then you heard the Republicans, they want nothing to do with the Democrats. So literally the Democrats were literally just there at Capitol Hill while Mike Johnson sent everybody home. People were going hungry because of food snap, which again, the Republicans and the president was holding hostage, right? Come on. He was going to appeal the Supreme Court, right? To delay the states from funding SNAP. Ketanji Jackson had to literally stop it and try to find a way to knock it back down to the federal courts because we can't trust the fucking Supreme Court justices, the conservative ones, and it's stacked. What did you want the Dems to do? Seriously, sit down for a second, calm down. Oh my God.
What happened? So we've got to go forward, do the best that we can to try to protect working class people, to make sure that the United States not only does not throw people off of health care.
Not the Republicans. Republicans. The deal was, we're going to try to get these votes so we can get them back to the negotiating table for the ACA. They don't want to do it. Republicans don't want to do it. That's it. That's the message. Not, Dems cave in. Get over it. It was going to happen anyway.
But ends the absurdity of being the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people. We got a lot of work to do. But to be honest with you, tonight was not a good night.
It wasn't a great night. I get it. You have the right to feel upset, but come on, man. All right, let's see what else somebody else said. If you mind the pauses, you can watch the original. If you mind the pauses, you can watch the original videos below. In the description, watch them and come right back here so we can react together. Appreciate the support. Let's keep going.
Let's be clear. The Republicans run the House. The Republicans run the Senate. The Republicans run the White House. The Republicans run the Supreme Court, as far as I'm concerned. This was a choice by Republicans to cut SNAP benefits. This was a...
Understand what it is. This was a choice by the Republicans. The Dems were just trying to get them to the table to stop them from doing it continuously. Everybody says, well, what was the point to stop them? What was the point? To see, they probably, in my mind, again, this is why I say I'm okay if you want to throw out Chuck Schumer, you want to throw out those Dems, that the old school Dems are just not up to par, not up for the moment, because they probably still thinking to this day that maybe they would come to the table when they saw the clean on the CR bill was not clean at all. They saw that it was going to fuck up the premiums, and they wanted to try to have a conversation about the ACA because they knew that this thing, the health premiums were going to spike up. And they probably really underestimated or really just don't understand or finally got a vision of seeing how bad and how brutal the Republicans are. These MAGA Republicans are willing to do to their, how far they're willing to go to starve their own people out, their own constituents, to hurt their own people.
Cut ACA subsidies. This was a choice by the Republicans to gut the federal government and federal employment. Democrats had nothing to do with it. I want an opposition party. I think the Democrats caved. I think the Democrats let down the American people. And like you, Whoopi, I have absolutely no faith that the Republican Party will come to the negotiating table in good faith.
They're talking about them coming back in December in good faith. They probably won't. So again, knowing that they wouldn't do it in December, what makes you think they were going to do it now? And right now, people are starving. Snaps are not being funded. You saw the chaos in the airports. People were not going home. People were furloughed, no back pay. At least in this deal, they get their jobs back. They were not touching the ACA. You know that because the billionaires' tax cuts is being funded from the cuts made to Medicaid and Medicare. We all know this. We got to stop with this whole thing. Let's just blame the Dems for, bruh. At this point, stay on code.
Even vote on it. There's no guarantee in this New Deal that there's going to be a vote. There's no even commitment to have a vote. So the bottom line is the Democrats went into this after a blue wave out of the American people saying we do want the opposition. We the working people want the Democratic Party to fight for them. And now,
at what cost? It's fine to say. I was saying the same thing. Hold the line. Don't worry about it. You see in my last video, but at the end of the day, you got to think. And I said this with when in the video with Sharman, the guy that said, "Yo, we know that the people won't govern." It's one thing to know that and to see it and understand they were willing to cut back more with the air traffic controls and the airports. They were going as far. Republicans were going as far to stop the states. They were appealing to the Supreme Court to stop SNAP, telling the states, "Yo, don't fund the SNAPs." And if you did, take it back. I think some states were able to fight to say fuck that, they didn't even listen and funded them anyway. But that's my point. We're willing, like it was bad, man. I think we underestimated how far these. I'm hoping at least what you see, besides the Dems caving, is how bad the Republicans are. You don't miss that message.
Oh, they just caved and surrendered. I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over. If he cannot keep his caucus together, he needs to go. He needs to be replaced.
I tell you, I'm one of those people who got caught in airport hell yesterday, but I don't even feel like I have a right to complain because I was going through TSA and there are people there who haven't gotten paychecks. And I could hear them say, because I was going through Miami International the afternoon and they were talking about, oh my God.
I like the explanation real quick because I want people to understand this was what's happening in real time. It's one thing to just say, hey man, hold the line. Like I said the same thing, but then you got to think about something. We're humans. We know we're flawed. And we got to make sure sometimes we think one way, but then we take a minute to sit down and realize, yo, people are really suffering. People are not getting paid. People are not getting losing jobs.
They're voting. They're voting again. Our TSA workers, at the same time that they have the stress and responsibility of keeping us safe in the skies, are also having to be pending to CNN and whatever, vote results there are in Congress. That is ridiculous and it is shameful. And I'll tell you what else is shameful. And I lay this.
I like that. I like the fact that it's like Yo, the government is not even working. They got to make sure that these people are doing Uber right after air traffic controls, bro. Remember there was a story about the guy joining air traffic control, a guy with his daughter, and he has to do Uber at the end for his daughter to pay his daughter's tuition. It's not while watching the fucking news to make sure everything's okay every 10 seconds. It's ridiculous.
On Donald Trump, because the one that has the biggest bully pulpit here is Donald Trump. He is
Right.
the president of the United States, much
Right.
to my chagrin, but that means he has the responsibility to lead, to convene Republicans and Democrats, sit them around a table and have them craft a deal. But you know what
Yeah.
Donald Trump was doing this weekend? Same thing he was doing.
She gets it, and she was a Republican, or she was a she's a traditional Republican. The message is still on Donald Trump and the Republicans. You can get mad at the Dems trying to fight, but again, they don't have the power anyway.
Last weekend, he was at Mar-a-Lago at a fancy party. Last weekend, there was the Great Gatsby theme. This weekend, he was hosting another fancy party with towers of seafood and champagne. The president of Argentina was at the fancy party this weekend, dancing happily. You know why? Because Donald Trump bailed him out with $40 billion of your
Right.
U.S. taxpayer money while he refuses to fund SNAP benefits. And you know what we are doing with this deal? We are changing one group of suffering Americans, the
For
federal
another
workers
one.
and the SNAP benefits, for another one. Because people have no idea how much they're going to need to pay for health insurance. The premiums have already gone out, and they are up 100, 200, almost 300% in some cases. If people lose insurance, if people drop out of insurance, not only will it be the death of Obamacare, it will be the death of Americans, because people will not go get screenings. People will get diagnosed
Correct.
with later stages of cancer, and this will cost lives. And we must demand better, starting with Donald Trump.
Yes. At the end of the day, she said it was choosing one or the other. We're choosing one or the other. And at the end of the day, that choice is a demonic choice made by who? The fucking Republicans. All right, we can get mad at the Dems, but at the end of the day, don't lose the message. Don't lose the mission. Stay on code. It is the fucking Republicans, bro.
I want to quote you something from Ezra Klein, the New York Times columnist, who isn't in Congress, but I think he kind of represents a lot
He's one of the dudes that voted yes for the CR bill to pass
of
through.
a lot of the mainstream thinking here. And the quote is this: "Shutdowns are an opportunity to make an argument, and the country was just starting to pay attention. If Trump wanted to cancel flights over Thanksgiving rather than keep healthcare costs down, I don't see why Democrats should save him from making his priorities so exquisitely clear. And I worry that Democrats have just taught Trump that they will fold under pressure. That's the kind of lesson he remembers."
That's not so simple. I can't believe I'm about to sit here defending. I'm not even defending Fetterman. You want to kick him out? Fetterman's on both sides, probably a Republican, whatever. We care about what Fetterman. But we're going to hear what he has to say. But right there, again, I get what he's saying. People just started to pay attention. This reminded me of what they did when the Democrats left Texas to warn about a few Democrats left Texas to warn about the gerrymandering that was going on. You know, but they still had to come back at the end of the day. But at least the nation got word out of it. But this was a whole different situation. This is another situation where I won't say different. It's still in a bad place. But people were going to go hungry, man. People were going to lose their jobs. And I get people want to say that people were prepared, but you never know. And I think they really underestimated how brutal these MAGA Republicans are against the American people.
What do you make of that general argument?
No, it's just like that's actually not a fold. That's realizing that it's the kind of chaos that might care more about the kinds of impacts that it's going to have on 42 million people. Like if you depend on them to eat, that's not a political game. And it's not a political game, as Mr. Klein seems to refer to it as. You know, it's really about our bigger priorities. And now in a longer conversation here, remind us, Democrats designed those tax credits to expire at this year. That's the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. That's not something they're taking away. They're saying we can have a conversation to extend them, and I do hope we should. And I think many of their constituents are going to be impacted too. And that's why I think that's a way forward to find that without dropping our...
Again, that's like I said, it's Fetterman, so I'm not gonna trip with what you guys feel about Fetterman. I don't trust that they're gonna come to the table, but that's something that I'm hoping people really clear are paying attention. That you don't mess up the message and don't help the MAGA Republicans clear their message, provide the message for them when it comes to the Dems. Oh, the Dems gave up and they caved in and they got 42 million people to suffer for no reason. No. That wasn't the case. No. This was us trying to find a way. This was the Democrats trying to find a way to have a negotiating deal with the Republicans, but they probably underestimated how brutal these MAGA Republicans are, and I'm hoping people paid attention to this. Because they're not the reason why 42 million, they didn't make the cuts to the ACA. They've been warning about the ACA cuts from the beginning. You're getting mad at Dems for something they've been warning about what the Republicans were going to do in the beginning. I want to react to her. I think she has something dope. I think she explains it way better than I do. Shout out to this content creator. Let's break it down.
Okay, so now that everybody has had an opportunity to sit with the decision to reopen the government and what they decided to exchange for reopening the government, I want to be able to have a very realistic conversation with you all. And this conversation is going to stem from a conversation that I had with you back on September the 29th, the day before the government shutdown would inevitably be in action if they did not pass funding legislation, because we talked about this. We talked about this, and I'm going to refresh your memory. It's very interesting to see how we come out of this. And if the Democrats have to acquiesce anyway, because the reality is this: if they are not able to get anything changed and they decide to effectively have government shut down just for them to backpedal in a week, it's going to look very, very bad politically for the Democrats. And this is why the Democrats are between what is inevitably a rock and a hard place.
Yep.
But don't forget about midterm elections. They'll be out of that rock and hard place, and we can really hold them accountable for a lot of things if they are the majority. If things don't get done and they're the majority, then they just suck. But currently in this position, they really don't have a leg to stand on, and they really don't have much equity to be able to force Republicans to come to the table. It just really isn't there. Now that's what
It's just going to look bad on them anyway, which is what we want them to do.
I said at the beginning of the shutdown. And a lot of people got into my comments and said, stop blaming the Democrats. It's not the Democrats' fault. Stop blaming the Democrats. And now you're somewhere where I did not want you to be, which is why I tried to warn you. I tried to warn you of facts. What we have to be careful not to do is to misunderstand movement as productivity. Okay. You can be spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere.
Right.
And that's not productive, ladies and gentlemen. That's
what I felt like. It felt like ego. It's like an ego thing. Yo, we got him. We're going to keep in stalemate. Let's hold the line. I'm lucky I can control my ego easily. I'm like, yo, I'm glad we can hold the line. But at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. At the end of the day, I'm glad we held the line for as long as we could. But I also know that people are going to be suffering. And nothing's happening. Felt like it was ego in the sense like you guys just want to like, oh, we got them. We're going to keep fighting back. But at what cost? They're not coming. We're not getting anywhere. We're just literally in a standstill.
It needs to be productive. From the very beginning, there was no leverage.
Right.
The Democrats have no leverage right now.
Right.
That's why the Republicans didn't have to budge.
Right.
I know that there's a lot of conspiracy theorists and there's a lot of things that a lot of people may not understand about the movements of the government. But let me help you. The Democrats weren't paid. This was always going to happen.
Right.
It was always going to be the outcome. But because someone tells you a fact that you don't like, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're pro-Trump in the background. Some things are just what they are.
Yeah. Like I said, I what I'm referring to when I say at that point, I'm thinking like I'm talking about Fetterman and everything. As much as I think he's pro-Trump and all that, but at this particular situation, this particular moment, I mean, there was no choice. There was no choice. It was it wasn't going anywhere. That's why I think got out of it. The Republicans were shown how brutal they were, and at least in this deal, they got people's jobs back. And I was more worried about the air traffic controls getting worse, and again, planes crashing even much worse than they were before after they removed DEI. These Republicans are brutal, man. These type of Republicans do not play. All right? I think they made a mistake. The Democrats tried to do something, and they saw that these people were not coming to the table, and they saw people were going to suffer for it. So they had to make a choice between the sick and the hungry. The hungry that's now and the sick down the road.
And this is the thing. I feel like we understand leverage, but we don't. You see, the reason why us not going to Target works is because Target needs our money. That's why we have the upper hand. We have what they need. And if we withhold it, then they're going to crumble long before we will.
Right.
That's how leverage works.
Right.
And for everybody that's saying that, oh, they sold out, they caved, I have been asking the same one question since September the 29th, when everyone said I was wrong, which is, what is the bargaining chip for the Democrats that can cause them, that can force them, Lord, this new lip gloss is on my nerves, that can force them to do what the Democrats are asking? What is the bargaining chip? Because they don't have an upper hand.
Right.
They don't. And so when you don't have an upper hand, for all of you people that are saying they should have held out, they should have held out, they should have held out, people are suffering.
Right.
More people are suffering right now than the amount of people that would suffer in the long run. And we need to be able to define what suffering is and also rank it. And rank it.
You're saying everything.
Because we're talking about health insurance premiums going up. Yes, that is horrendous. We're talking about the possibility of 4 million people over the span of a couple years not being able to have any insurance. That's what's happening on one side. On the other side, what we have is 42 million people that would not have been able to eat and that would not have food stamps. We have 700,000 people, some of which are working and not being paid, some of which are not working and will not receive back pay. They have rent, they have bills, they have car notes, they have all of these things that they have to pay, and out because of no decision of their own, they don't have the money. They've not been laid off. They have a job. They have a job. They have families. And some of the 700,000 people are also on food stamps. Right. So you double bind them by causing them to not be able to make money and not get paid. And then you also yank their SNAP benefits.
And who's doing that? The Republicans. They were going to do that, and they were doing that from the jump. Because they're taking the cuts from Medicaid and Medicare and SNAP from what? The big ugly bill to give tax cuts to the rich, to pay the tax cuts to the rich, to fund them. Ain't not much to really, she already broke it down. Ain't not much to talk about, man. Like I said, I want to know what y'all think. Do you think they cave? I feel you. Again, if you don't want, all those 8 Democrats, the people who are not up for re-election until 2028 to get out, okay, I still think getting rid of the problem Democrats is the solution. That needs to happen. I'm with you 100%, no doubt. But let's not focus the message and lose the message, not knowing that at the end of the day, this was done. This was the Republicans. But I want to know what y'all think. Did the Democrats cave? Did they do the best they could? I think this was needed to show the United States, to show the country what's going on, to be prepared for midterms, to do the right thing. We have a lot of work to do. I still think the Dems did the best they could with what they want this moment, this time. I'm not saying they won't back out, cave some other time, but I don't think this was a cave. But let me know if I'm wrong. Do you disagree? I want to hear what your thoughts. I'm here for y'all. I just made this channel to calm people down, to have some kind of intelligent, logical, well balanced with empathy conversations. All right, like and subscribe. It goes a long way for me. I appreciate you. See you in the next video.